Today we're going to walk through adding a transaction in 3 simple steps. When you log into your account, you're brought to your dashboard. Your dashboard is broken down into 3 parts. One, when you're acting as a buyer's agent, or a seller's agent, or a dual agent. Today we're going to add a transaction acting as a buyer's agent, so we'll simply click on Add New. Enter your property address. Here we'll enter our important dates, our execution date, the date the property went under contract, our settlement date, and a mortgage commitment date if it's applicable to your transaction. Here we'll enter the parties to the transaction, so we'll enter our buyer's name and our email address, our seller's name. We don't have his email address because we're not representing him, the seller's agent, and our lender's contact information. Now, some folks may have other parties that are involved in their transaction, maybe an attorney, title company, transaction coordinator, another buyer, whatever it is. So to add them, simply click on Add Contact Type. And what we're doing is adding a contact type, not a specific contact. So let's say we'll add our title company as a contact type. You can set this as a default, so each time you enter a transaction, the title company contact type will appear. So we'll click Add. Go ahead and add a contact. You can add as many contact types as you like. I'm going to proceed to step 2. Step 2 is all the events that must occur prior to settlement. All the default events listed here are based on the Pennsylvania Agreement of Sale. Some of these may be different in your state. You may call them different things. Maybe you have additional events that have to occur, but you can change all of these. Just quickly, this column here is all the events. This column here represents the responsible party for each event, whether it's the buyer, the seller, or both. This is the number of days before or after an event must occur and what it is dependent on. It could be, based on the settlement date, the execution date, the mortgage commitment date, or any other event that you have. This gives you the due date. This column here is the number of days that you want prior to the event occurring that you want the email reminder to go out. So we'll go ahead and change a couple of these. A lot of folks on their second deposit are actually adding the dollar amount. So when the email reminder goes out, it'll say to your client, the second deposit of $4,000 is due on January 22nd. Maybe this particular property has public water, so we're going to remove that event. And it probably has public sewer. Say it's a newer home, so we don't have to worry about the lead paint. And it's a single home, so we don't have to worry about any condo resale certs. But the house does have a pool, so we need to do a pool inspection, so we'll add an event. And we'll call it pool inspection. It's the buyer's responsibility, and it's contingent on the execution date. Again, you can set it as a default, so we'll simply click Add. And here's our new event. Again, it's the buyer's responsibility, and we'll say it's 5. Well, here, let's have it contingent on the home inspection. So after the home inspection's done, we want to say it's 5 days after the home inspection done is when our pool inspection has to be completed. I'll say save. So here our pool inspection is the buyer's responsibility. 5 days after the home inspection is done, it's due. And we want our reminder to go out 3 days before. Now the update dates, if you click that, it'll rearrange all of your dates in chronological order. All right, so on to step 3. Step 3 is where we indicate who is to receive our email reminders. So in the beginning, if you remember, we didn't put an email address in for the seller, so there's no column here for the seller. Only the parties that we entered an email address for will appear here. Okay? Here's our second deposit of $4,000, so we want to remind our buyer of that, and we want to remind our seller of that, or our buyer's agent, which is us. Our pool inspection that we added, again, we want to remind the buyer, and we want to remind ourselves. Same with the mortgage commitment. We also want to remind our lender of the mortgage commitment. And maybe we have to remind our title company to order the municipal certs. Then we click complete, and the transaction is completed. We have our property information, we have our important dates, we have all the parties involved, their contact, and all the events that must occur. The check marks indicate who is receiving the email reminders. Now the next thing you want to do is send out the AOS report. What the AOS report is a complete timeline of a transaction showing what the buyer has to do and what the seller has to do prior to settlement. It lists all the events in chronological order. So we'll click on Send AOS Report. Any person that we entered an email address for, their name will appear here. So you can just click who you want to send it to. I'm going to send it to myself. And it lets us know that it has been sent out. So we'll go ahead and check the email. And it shows up here, important dates for 777 Main Street. And it says this is the complete timeline. It shows our property, again, our important dates, and the buyer, the buyer's agent, seller, and seller's agent. And here's the best part. It shows what the buyer has to do in chronological order. This is a great tool to send your clients. It's like a checklist, so they know exactly what they have to do and when it has to be done. And it does the same thing for the seller side. And we can go back to our dashboard, and we can see that our transaction has been entered. The dashboard orders your transaction with the most current due date. So this changes daily depending on your due date. So it's great. The first thing in the morning, you go in, you see which transactions need some attention, and you'll know exactly what has to be done. Once your transaction is settled, you can add it to your archive. If you need to have it for later reference, you can delete it. We'll just go ahead and add it to our archive. So you go over into your archive folder, and it'll show your property here. You can always restore it back to your dashboard. So we go back to our dashboard. Here, it's back here. You can resend out the AOS report, you can view your transactions, you can edit that, and again, delete it or add it to your archive. You also have the ability to create templates. So over here in the menu on templates, you can create a template. For example, if you're a New Jersey agent and you want to create a template that's specific to the New Jersey agreement of sale, you simply add new template. I do a lot of work in Philadelphia, so I have a Philadelphia buyer's template and a Philadelphia sales template. So you can create as many templates as you want. So simply click on Add New Template. We'll give it a name. I'll just call it Sample Template. Click Add. And what it'll do is bring up all the default events. And you can just modify them. Maybe you call it an escrow deposit. And it's just a home inspection that you do. Perhaps you don't specifically call out all the things that are done in your home inspection. So you don't have the radon or the water, the boundary inspection. Maybe you don't use appraisal contingencies, or you don't have a pre-inspection. So you make whatever changes you want. If you have a typical default when you write your deals of how many days things are due, you can just go ahead and change those. Maybe your second deposit is 15 days after the execution. You can add events. So if there's an event, like we did prior, the pool inspection, and we want that as part of our template. We want to say that the buyer gets a reminder, the agent gets the reminder, and it's based on the execution date. We'll add that, and it's 10 days after the execution. Our reminder is going to go out 3 days, and the buyer and the buyer's agent are going to get noticed of that. So we just save it to our existing template, and you can mark it as your default. We can say, yes, this is the one we want as a default each time we add a transaction. We go back to our templates. There's our template that we created. If we don't like the name, we can edit the name and change it. Call it a test template now, and we'll save that. You can edit it, you can remove it. So now when we go back to our dashboard and we add a new transaction, use that. And we add our execution date, we add our settlement date, and we add our mortgage commitment, and we have our buyers, our seller. And as you see, since we added these prior, they're all auto-populating, which is very nice. And say next to proceed to step 2. Now you'll see here it's using our test template as our default, and all the changes that we made are here. Okay. Well, I hope that is helpful. If you ever need any assistance on any of the screens, simply click on the blue question mark and it'll provide some information. Thank you again for watching this tutorial of AOSdates.